doing, Onefeather? Welcome to another week in advance.
Yes, it's beautiful here in Chicago as the weather continues to move in a positive direction. It's still chilly, but definitely feeling that regeneration that we always get when the sun has advanced into Taurus, and we're feeling, that deeper surge of Earth and that struggle to get back above ground and spread our leaves and just, in general, get re-energized for a new cycle of growth.
Yeah, this is definitely a new cycle in our lives. The big solar eclipse. I'm so excited for it. I'm a big solar eclipse advocate. I always look at it as a cigar cutter in space, as that sun and moon conjunction happens and it cuts the karma and chops it off, and really new beginnings. It's just kind of these huge new starts that always fire up, and it's a sensitive time, of course, because we're in these very sensitive times. And this week we're coming out of a big cardinal cross into a solar eclipse. I think there's a lot of completion and starts, like you brought up, happening.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing a real nice winding down from that grand square that we were dealing with, and I've been hearing a lot of reports from different people who are feeling a lot of different areas of their lives are actually being energized. So even though it may be introducing a little bit of a overload energy, I really haven't heard a lot of wailing and mourning about this grand square that we just finished up with. I think the earth signs did get whacked a little bit hard with that transition, but nonetheless, overall, I would say, all the doom and gloom speakers were probably a little bit miffed by how we didn't have World War III erupt with this filling out of these heavy planets and their interaction.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting cardinal cross because Mars really is in the middle of it all, dealing with war, action, strength. But I think we are saved because it's in Libra, as no matter what, there's still going to be some sort of some balance that will be found. There's reasoning. One thing that Mars, I think, does very well in Libra with is there's reasoning. We always are going to look at another half. We're always going to look at two parts of a story instead of one. And I think that helps a lot with it. And I think that this is also a time where there's some internal stuff really turning more than external. I think even though there's stuff in our lives changing externally, we're having to face how we're dealing with it more internally. As Mars is retrograde, Pluto is stationary retrograde right before this cross happened. So there's a lot of deep inner reflection happening. But I think emotionally, this has been a lot of big lessons for us. Jupiter is the planet of big lessons and learning and knowledge, and as it's been exalted in Cancer, it's also shown that there are always more doors, more options, more to feel. There's more to feel here. There's more to look at than meets the average eye, and I think we've all seen these new directions that we can take, and that there are unlimited possibilities. And I think coming into this weekend, Sun-Mercury conjunct, and as you and I looked ahead this whole week, it's a very powerful Mercury week. So there's a lot about intellect. There's a lot of things to figure out. There's a lot of clarity coming in our heads this week, and I think that's how we start the weekend, with clarity, the moon in Pisces on Venus, really nice feeling. I think we come into Friday getting prepared for this eclipse in a good, nice fashion.
Yeah, we've got, a strong trine going on to Saturn in Scorpio with that Venus-Moon conjunction. That's going to be a nice release point, I think, so that people are going to feel like getting out and moving around and doing things this weekend, and they're going to feel like some of their burdens, some of their obligations are starting to kind of fizzle off, and they're able to take life a lot less seriously. I think another healing factor within this Grand Cross, or release valve perhaps for it, was the fact that we had the activity of Chiron in Pisces moving in that kind of an interesting mid-zone. It was sextile to Pluto, so it was giving us a lot of emotional support and a lot of the ability to regenerate and to heal ourselves and heal those around us. And of course, Neptune continues to advance as it's moving higher and higher into that region of Pisces, where it's going to really start to reveal itself. And I think this is, when it hits that 10-degree mark, then we'll really get a clear sense of what the deeper intention of spirit is with that Neptunian influence. So a lot of things are readjusting, they're coming into alignment, and I think that a lot of deeper mysteries, a lot of secrets are going to start becoming much more communicable. I think people are going to find the words to be able to share the deeper emotional experiences they're having on their own spiritual journey. And of course, that does lift everybody up, and we can all do that.
I think you're right. I think it's a necessary part of this process is communication, to let it out. And this is a new Taurus, all this energy that's coming into Taurus, even including this solar eclipse, it's coming in a zone where the nodes have left. I always look at the south nodes as kind of the mop, the cleanup aisle on aisle 5. And I really feel like Taurus energy has been rebooted and very clean. And these are the new energies coming in to boot up Taurus, which I feel that Taurus is about enriching in our greatest self. And there's a really good feeling with Taurus. That's the reason why the moon is exalted in Taurus, is because you want the best of the best, you're going to get it in Taurus. And it's the greatest sign of foundation, stability. It holds more stable than any other earth sign because it is a fixed earth sign. And we're moving our energy into the energy we must fix ourselves in, what we're going to manifest with all this energy we've gone through. And there's been a lot of change internally. There's been a lot to look at. There's also been, I think, a lot of spiritual work and facing a lot of our truths. And I think how you brought up how there's this exposing happening. I think we've exposed it all and we're ready to do the work. And it's kind of whether or not, we're ready to do that work or not. And they're not easy choices in a cardinal cross, but you've got to do it for your highest self, your best self. And that's what I think Taurus is going to teach here in the solar eclipse. Right before that solar eclipse, the moon on Saturday comes into the cardinal cross. So we're going to have 5 planets in here. The moon will be on Uranus. So anything can happen. I think the weekend before this solar eclipse, I think the moon's going to trigger the Uranus aspect of this grand cardinal cross. And this is probably the last most powerful position of the cardinal cross. So this weekend, even though it comes in real nice, I think we can be very tested really quick on Saturday as the moon comes in here and it comes out of the Pisces energy and it really gets strong and fired up and then it gets sparked up intensely. But I think we need to stay grounded because we are in Taurus and this is trying to start a solar eclipse in Taurus. And like you and I like to preach, that moon is getting in its dark phase and we can't let our egos get in the way, I think, this weekend. And I think we can't, because this could be a last grasp for ego energy. I think that's moon on Uranus as it darkens with the solar eclipse building in a cardinal cross.
Yeah, that definitely would be one interpretation that would appear very valid. Of course, everybody has to look at their own personal chart, look at the placement of these activities. But absolutely, as we see the moon transit over Uranus, Uranus is a very electrical planet. So our emotional range, the moon range of our consciousness, or more literally our subconscious emotional range, is going to get a jolt of electricity. And then as we approach Sunday evening, that real period of disintegration occurs where you're going to see a lot of the charged up energy from the last 30 days or 28 days begin to kind of dissolve. And this sets the stage for that next level, which is putting your intention on what it is that you really hope to achieve with this moon renewing itself in the sign of Taurus, because we look at Taurus as being very much like the Empress card, very interestingly, because it's very, very fertile. And with that immense fertility, with that fecundity, with all that it's like having a clot of earth with worms wreathing through it, and you can just feel the growth and the potential there. And that really is what we're going to experience once the moon does renew. But as it's moving into that final phase, we're really going to see a lot of things just go up in vapor. They're just going to literally disappear because of the intensity of this last cycle.
It's intense, and this is fertile ground, like you say. The Empress card goes so well. There's even a planet Venus in the Empress card that's usually shown. And this is all about Venus. I think Venus has been really the culmination point of kind of the background energy of what the universe has been doing all these crosses for and all this energy, as Venus represents the fertile ground of manifesting, but it also is relationships. And I've seen a lot of this. You know, Venus just came off a big like grand water trine in the middle of this cross as it dealt with Jupiter and it dealt with Saturn, as it's showing the different doors in the areas we can manifest and enrich in and the relationships we can have. But there's tough, emotional, deep decisions that have to be made in these areas now. And this solar eclipse is, I think, lighting those up and ready to launch them. And a solar eclipse in Taurus can be very positive, and we're not going to have one, I think, until like 2022 or 2024, something like that. So it's going to be like 8 years away, I think it is. And so this is a big one. This is one to really look at your greatest value system, because it's also in nice energy with Neptune. This solar eclipse is going to sextile Neptune while it basically sextiles Jupiter. So there's a lot of good energy around this eclipse. It's also in trines with Pluto very well, which is transformation. So I think this solar eclipse is going to be the push and the vitality we've been waiting to have, and really the seeding of something special.
And it also is going to have a lot of the mystical essence, because again we've got, you know, that nice sextile energy from Neptune in Pisces feeding into it. So there is that growth cycle coming along. The other thing that I'm enjoying watching as we progress through this new moon is that there is going to be more of an acceleration. We're really beginning to watch Jupiter speed up, and we're going to be able to watch you know, Uranus continue to accelerate also. So both of these heavy planets, as they start to pick up speed, they're going to be bringing things into our lives very rapidly. So with this new moon coming up, I think we really want to anchor ourselves in clarity and anchor ourselves in intention, anchor ourselves in that realm of being practical about what life really is all about for us, seeing the natural, practical aspects of all these energies melding. And it's interesting how this particular eclipse, you know, when the sun is occluded by the moon, there's a temporary shadow that has been cast on the face of the earth from that interaction of the sun out here, the moon here, and the earth over here. And within that, we're going to see our conscious minds perhaps go through a 6 or 8 hour period here where we're not really focused. We're kind of in a cloud bank. And in the midst of that, a lot of stuff from the moon side, the subconscious side, is going to reveal itself. So again, we have a very revelatory phenomenon going on here, where a lot of things that you are currently not really tuned into, that are going on in your own subconscious realm, are going to all of a sudden pop to the surface. You're going to discover agendas. You're going to discover old patterns of guilt, old patterns of repeating the same old thing over and over again come up, where you can review them and say, oh, I don't want this growing in my garden anymore, and do a little selective weed killing, as it were.
Yeah, and this could be kind of one of those final rounds of that, because I think the Cardinal Cross brought a lot of that up, and old cycles and patterns and the work that comes with it. This can be you finally overstepping those subconscious energies, or, you know, the second when you think you're off the hook, oh, it comes right back and it'll test you in your weakest spot, because that's how the universe kind of always does tricks on us like that, you know. It's like, you know, it's like right when things get really good, you slip, you know. And this is, I think, definitely a spot where you don't want to slip. I think that you want to be still, you know, aiming in the right place in your life and doing the work, because as we kind of move later in the week after the solar eclipse, it looks pretty nice. Mercury's in great trines with Pluto throughout the week. It's also sextiling Jupiter. We're getting very clear on things. Also, the sun will start its really nice climb into the middle of Taurus, and it's pretty clear waters here, and the cross is starting to break apart. So I really feel personally, when the moon comes out of Taurus into Gemini, there's going to be this excitement, I think, about the new energy coming midweek, and really a lot of questions now of, wow, look at all these things in my life. Let's do this. I think there's going to be a lot of conversation starting up. And I think when you brought up earlier, the conversations are going to last through the whole week. I think with Mercury in a good placement, plus then the moon comes into Gemini as Mercury's sextiling Jupiter, trining Pluto. I mean, it's exciting week of a lot of things happening, a lot of new questions. And Venus will be finishing up in Pisces in its exaltation period. So I think these are going to be great conversations and relationships. A lot of peaceful stuff happening too, a lot of coming from a higher source, coming from compassion. But I really think as we kind of end this week and Venus gets ready to come into Aries, where Venus doesn't do the best because it's very singular there, and, you know, all this cardinal cross energy might actually start to hit more intensely when Venus does come at the end of the week. But I definitely think this is a week that can kind of be a relief after there's been a lot happening. And even though maybe our lives haven't changed crazy or whatever, I still feel that there's been a tension in the universe that, you know, we all kind of can feel at certain times. And this can kind of get us off the meat hook a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely has, you know, that toning down energy. It has kind of not feeling exhausted because, you know, we've still got Uranus doing its thing and generating a lot of power, a lot of what could be frenetic kind of energy. But I think a lot of people are going to feel definitely more back in their bodies, more focused, and more at ease, less edgy, less jumpy. The other thing that we'll continue to observe now is that as these heavy planets continue their advance, we're really going to see both Uranus and Pluto and Jupiter come further and further away from that interaction with Neptune. So the Neptunian energy is going to be kind of offline in its own zone, doing its own thing. And I think that's where there's going to be a very subtle undercurrent of illumination going on. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Neptune is actually purified and giving us its input without the benefit of being juiced up by these other heavy planets. So again, a very nice kind of gentle release with this new moon. We feel a lot of new potential coming into play, and we'll probably, you know, have a lot more clarity by the end of next week.
Yeah, I think we're going to be clear on what we want to create, what we want to do, what the work is to do. And I think we can feel really charged. You know, Taurus is the sign of the flowers budding, and this is budding flowers in our life, and this is really getting things moving. And there was a, you know, there was an extreme kind of energy that came in our lives in this year, especially we started the year with a new moon in Capricorn in the middle of a cross. So, you know, this has been kind of the energy of this year where there's these big, powerful check-ins to make sure everything's adjusted right, and then we kind of get to go again. You know, like I look at them as TSA checkpoints. So this was a big one we just got into, but this eclipse, even though Mars is direct, I think this is just one nice flight, but it's kind of directing the first flight to many that kind of go on this journey. And I think that once Mars goes direct on May 20th, which is in less than a month, thank you, I think we're all going to be supercharged big time when Mars goes direct. And really all these stories that have been playing out, we're going to revisit again. And come back and take them on the journey, you know.
Exactly. I think also a lot of us are just tired of you know, when you have Mars backing up through uh, through as many degrees as it's going backwards through, it does have a tendency to put you in that situation of having a lot of internal struggle going on. And it's hard for you to process your own masculine energy, whether you're a man or a woman, because Mars is pushing backwards, is resisting. And so, yeah, there is going to be a huge release when Mars does finally go direct. And that's when, again, as you had stated, we're going to have that deeper comprehension of the last couple of months of all these major conflictive interactions that we've been witness to. So we really are moving into a very bright summer, a summer with positive potential, and I think a lot of growth. I think we're going to see both the economy of our country here, the United States, as well as the global economy, going through a real forward surge. And I think there's going to be a lot less uh, concern in general for people being able to meet their needs, people being able to acquire the things that are just fundamental to living. You know, having rent money, having money for food, things like that. We're going to definitely feel a lightening up around those issues as far as society in general is concerned.
Yeah, it's definitely going to light up a lot of those issues, and in ourselves too, of whether or not we're feeling we're good enough to even manifest that. I've been seeing that a lot in a lot of readings lately. Is self-worth's a big deal, you know, and in order to manifest, you just can't one day say I'm good enough and then expect, you know, the universe to provide you with that. You have to stay on top of it, and I think that's the lesson of Taurus, which is farming, right? When you plant the seed, you just can't plant seeds. You gotta actually cut, you know, things in the ground, plant the seeds, put the dirt back over, water them, watch them sprout, and keep watering them, and keep doing the work, and stay on top of it, you know. So, and I think that's where we're at now. We got to stay on top of this. And you know, I also think once this new moon happens, we're all ready to just take whatever we know inside of ourselves is the most valuable. We have to start farming that. And that's how I feel. I'd love to see what the cards say about this.
Exactly. Well, let's take a look here. We have got, oh, we're starting off with a real nice validation of these very positive interactions going on Friday. We've got the strength card, building strength as we advance into the weekend. We're seeing that activity of, you know, the energy flowing between the the passage of the moon as it's advancing further into Pisces and then finally getting into Aries and then eventually approaching the sun. So we've got a strong, solid foundation that we're starting the weekend off with. And the strength card is very, you know, grounded, having roots, having an anchorage. Over the weekend, people from the past showing up, the Six of Cups, a reverie, opportunity to go back and address some old issues that may come up unexpectedly. And again, I would associate this with that activity of Uranus. You know, as Uranus gets interactive with the moon passage, and you may find that some of the old grudges, some of the old anger, some of the sting and the wounds are finally becoming approachable so that you can heal those areas. Then we hit that period of renewal, and you know, open yourself up to possibilities. This is the universe card, the world card. It's expanding yourself, getting beyond that tendency to look through blinders at the world, getting your vision out there and allowing yourself to entertain the idea of growth, expansion, regeneration, and again, very earthy energy associated with that card. Then after that renewal of the moon, we'll have a few minor obstacles that undoubtedly will come to our attention, that will come bubble up to the surface, because we do have that eclipse activity going on. We're going to have to get rid of the first of the intercursing weeds in our garden, and be mindful as we move into this new cycle. But by the end of the week, we'll feel that some significant shifts have occurred, and that we are back in a new possible realm, a new realm of possibilities, because again, the wheel has turned, the old karma has cycled out, and with this renewal and regeneration and growth in Taurus, we're really going to be feeling anchored in our own personal reality and capable of manifesting the things that we have placed our attention on. So, and of course, with any kind of manifestation, it really is all about how much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to be able to give these wonderful things to yourself? And that really is what a lot of this next 7-day cycle of activity is based on.
Wow, those are powerful cards. Some major arcana in there, and the world card popping up. And really, all those cards are pretty easy on the eyes, I'd say, or easy on the soul. So really nice cards, really powerful time. I think the cards really mirrored what we were feeling, that, you know what, this is a great week. These are really new opportunities. I always look at it as the big, I don't think we're going to be able in America to see the solar eclipse. It's happening in the middle of the night. But, it's a big cigar cutter in space. I always look at that. Chink! I mean, I've had the most crazy events of my life take place right in between before the eclipse, just right there. I mean, literally, things, and anything can happen. It's a Uranus weekend before it. Anything can happen. I'd be prepared for some out of left field stuff for this one. I wouldn't be, because there's a cross still formed, and I think we got to end with, remember, there is still a cross, even though it's breaking apart. I mean, it's still within range. So there's some really big engines trying to fire up in our lives, and Uranus is part of that. And you just never know that, the next minute, bam, that piece of karma is going to come in your life here and shift your whole reality. And I think this one can shift our realities pretty intensely.
Yes, definitely. And if we do look at where the eclipse is going to be visible, a lot of it is going to be, I think, down around Antarctica. So who knows what's going to be going on in the realm of the penguins, but I would imagine that they will be going through some very transformative experiences too. So, yes. Yeah, they will have happy feet collectively down there, down under, and our Aussie friends and our Kiwi friends are going to be feeling this intense energy in a very visceral way. So it'll be interesting to see what feedback we get from our people who are on that other half of the hemisphere.
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, we're very northern hemisphere people, so to us Taurus is spring. But imagine seeing a solar eclipse in Taurus in the fall. That would be an interesting thing for me. Be a really big paradigm shift. It would trip me out a little bit, I think.
Well, and the beauty of all this is that it's an expression of some deeper part of our collective self. So all of this interaction, all of this movement is what we internally are experiencing and manifesting on a universal level. So really, it's not that the stars are doing things to you, it's that we as a group are trying to force our own evolution, and that's why the stars are reflecting these activities and these experiences to us.
Wonderfully put, Chris, and thank you again for doing this. And you and I were just talking before this that we were talking about the retreat this July and seeing you out there and doing some awesome work and talking about some awesome grounding techniques and a lot of your ancient rituals and being able to hang out with you. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think it's going to be really exciting, and for people who haven't made that commitment, I think you need to check out David's website and push the trigger, or push the button, pull the trigger kind of thing. So because I will be joining David for an exciting passage of Jupiter into Leo. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and you know what? When we do the Starry Night dinner, it'll be nice to have you there as we look at all the stars and teach people how it all works, because we'll be able to see Jupiter come into Leo at night. And Sedona's the best place in America to see the stars, especially in the summer. We'll see Milky Way, and we'll also see shooting stars and stuff. It'll be pretty crazy.
It's going to be fabulous, and don't forget your camera, people, because there's a lot of things to photograph down there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris, and wonderful and happy solar eclipse to you, and I will talk to you next week.
Fantastic. Take care, David, and looking forward to it.
All right, bye.
Bye.